I, 55 female, have been raising my daughter Sarah's 34 female child for almost her whole life. Emma, teen female, is an amazing young woman who has made me incredibly proud. For some background info, Sarah got pregnant at the beginning of her freshman year of college at age 18. She decided to keep the baby. She was still living at home, so of course I helped her. My daughter wasn't really a present mother. She, despite my urging her to take time off, went back to school a week after giving birth and went back to work a week after that. She pumped so I could bottle and formula feed Emma immediately after birth. Sarah wouldn't get up at night to care for Emma because she needed her sleep, so I did all the night feedings and changes. Emma was left home with me while Sarah went to school and work and attended everything I needed to attend. Sarah would come home and care for Emma for an hour or two, then go to bed. When Emma was a toddler, Sarah and her boyfriend got a small apartment closer to campus. I assumed that my time raising Emma was over. Sarah was putting Emma in daycare for about 3 weeks before she asked to just leave Emma with me during the weekdays and take her on the weekends. So until Emma was pre-tween, she spent Monday through Thursday with me and the weekends with Sarah and her dad, who was in and out of the picture. When Emma was pre-tween, Sarah moved back into my house and took a slightly more present role, but it was obvious she didn't know what she was doing. She didn't care to follow the routine Emma and I had set years before and couldn't understand why Emma was struggling. She knew very little about Emma's likes and dislikes and didn't know much about raising children. Within a few months, she stopped making nearly as much effort and I took back over as Emma's main caretaker. When Emma was tween, Sarah moved out with her new boyfriend, this time leaving Emma with me entirely and only coming together on the weekends. She took a job that worked weekends and nights, and for 5 years Emma lived with me full-time, only spending nights with her mom in the form of sleepovers and an occasional weekend. When Emma was a young teen, my daughter got a job with a 9-to-5 schedule. She started picking her up after sports and activities to spend the evening and having Emma come over on weekends. A year ago, my daughter moved into a house that is in the neighborhood of a very prestigious private school for girls. Emma is now a teen and has gone to the same school since kindergarten and has just started her junior year. Last week, during a family dinner at my house, my daughter announced to the family, myself, Emma, Sarah, my 3 sons, my daughters-in-law and my other grandkids, that she was so grateful for the help I've given her with Emma, but since she was doing so good it was time to take her back. Emma would be going to live with her full-time. She'd be enrolling her in the private school, and it was all possible thanks to me. I asked if I could speak to her privately and she said no. So, at the table I told her that that wasn't a good idea and that it wouldn't be good for Emma. She's lived her whole life with me. Taking her away would be damaging. Sarah said that I had no right to tell her what was best for Emma since she was her mother. I told her that being a mother doesn't mean she raised her daughter and that I know what's best for Emma. Sarah left in a huff and told me she'd come back to discuss the details, but then called me later yelling at me for undermining her parenting, saying I had no right to say that and that I was stepping on her toes. After my daughter left, my sons told me I should have been more sensitive to Sarah while I was in the right. I really don't think she deserved any more sensitivity. Sarah chose a career over raising her daughter. Nobody pushed her to keep a baby and nobody pushed her to pursue her career. And even when school and work permitted, she put very little effort into Emma. My daughter never actually tried to bond with Emma as a parent should. She never took an interest in her life beyond her allergies and soccer schedule. They don't talk despite Emma spending years trying to connect with her. She can't answer any basic questions about Emma and treats her like a small child rather than the young adult she is. I did all of the child rearing. I raised her as my own baby. She grew up in my home just like my own children did years before her. She's had constant stability with me, and it's unfair for her mother to come in her teen years too late and decide she knows best, decide to remove her from the home she's lived in since birth, away from the school and friends she's had since kindergarten, remove her from the person who raised her. My daughter is extremely angry at me and is accusing me of turning her daughter against her because Emma refuses to go with her. Am I the idiot? Edit to add, Sarah was never an addict or anything, she was just very career-driven. I never held anything over her head or forced her to move out or in, and I've always stepped back when she wanted to be more involved. I've never spoken badly about Sarah to Emma, but Emma has always been upset that Sarah has always made so little of an effort to be a part of her life. Her father is not in the picture and my husband has passed on. Emma does not want to go with Sarah. She has expressed to me and both her private and family therapist that she doesn't consider Sarah a mother and doesn't want to have that kind of relationship with her anymore. Emma has struggled for years with not understanding why her mom doesn't want her and why her cousins don't have the same thing. She has a very tense relationship with her mother. Despite Sarah's recent attempts, she very rarely spends time with her mother willingly. There was never any legal work done regarding Emma. My daughter doesn't pay child support, and there are no court orders as far as who has her and when. It's always been when it was convenient for my daughter. Not the idiot. Let's call a spade here. Your daughter was a deadbeat parent. Was she paying you all those years to raise her kid? My guess is no. She just dumped and ran when she didn't want to play mommy, and now she's hurt that her daughter doesn't want to play house with her. Well, that's on her. She doesn't get to sweep in now that Emma is almost an adult and suddenly decides to be a mom. This may have been Sarah's plan all along, though. The problem here is the mom actually has default custody by law. OP will have to go to court. She has a strong case, but it may cost money to make it. Also, it sounds like the daughter has plenty of money now, but not sure about grandma as she's been raising this kid with no support. Bio parents' rights are pretty strong in the law and OP could get out-lawyered. I see this as everyone's the idiot here. OP's daughter is totally wrong for pretty much neglecting Emma for years and now wants to sweep in after the work is done. However, OP failed by not taking her to court, getting child support, and allowing her daughter to use her as a free caretaker. Time to get a lawyer and make your guardianship legal. I travel for my job. My wife is currently unemployed and stressed about money. I don't know why. I earn enough for her not to have to work, but she likes working. She gave me a ride to the airport and said she would pick me up. I said I would Uber or take a cab on my way home. Nope. She insisted that we could save money if she picked me up. The thing is, she's always late for everything. It's annoying. The night before my flight home, I reminded her when she needed to be there. She said she would be there on time. My plane was delayed a little bit. I was ready to apologize for making her wait. I didn't have to. My flight was 15 minutes late. She wasn't there. I called her. She didn't answer. That is her trick for being late. She pretends like she's on the way and doesn't answer. I waited another 45 minutes and then took a taxi home. She called me and asked where I was. I told her I was in a cab on my way home. She got angry that she'd made the effort to come to get me, and I couldn't be bothered to wait for her. I told her to look at her phone and tell me how many missed calls and texts there were. She said she saw my flight was delayed and left the house late. I called nonsense since my flight wasn't delayed an hour. She said I was an idiot for just leaving and wasting her time and wasting money on a cab. Not the idiot. She's complaining about you wasting her time, but was perfectly happy to waste your time by leaving you waiting for nearly an hour. Forget that. I arrive at the airport 30 minutes to an hour early when picking someone up. I grab coffee and my Kindle and relax while I wait. I can't stand people who are perpetually late and then have the audacity to be upset when someone doesn't wait for them. Refusing to answer the phone would make me angry to no end. Text, I get it, but calls? No. I refuse to believe she doesn't have hands-free on her car or that she doesn't make calls at other times. I have a slightly different issue. My parents are getting older and the last couple of times they picked me up, things went wrong. Their dog jumped out the car and my mom had to chase it down, fell down and cut her lip. Another time my flight was late and their usual loop for the airport was closed. They got lost and had to get directions to pick me up. After that, I told them that I would also take a car from the airport to the house and to not worry about picking me up. Honestly, tell your wife you're always going to take a car from now on and just tell her not to worry about it. I, 51 male, have a daughter, 19 female, who's been living away from home for college. Since she was a teenager, I've always tried to give her the best, paying for everything, giving her a $3,000 allowance monthly and even buying her a new car when she moved for school. I believe I've set her up for success. Recently though, we've been butting heads. She's been going out partying a lot, skipping classes, and spending her money on expensive trips with her friends. When I brought up my concerns, she completely brushed me off, telling me it's her life and she's an adult now. Last weekend I learned from her mom, we're divorced, that she plans to drop out of college for a year to find herself and travel around Europe with her friends. I called her immediately and told her if she dropped out, I'd cut off her allowance and take the car back. She lost it, saying I'm trying to control her life and that I can't take away the things I've already given her. She also claims I'm punishing her for wanting to live her life. I feel like I'm being reasonable here. She can make her choices, but I shouldn't have to fund them if I disagree. Still, she's my daughter and I don't want to ruin our relationship over this. Am I the idiot for threatening to cut her off if she drops out? The classic, I'm an adult, but I still want daddy's money dilemma. Look, if she's grown enough to find herself in Europe, she might also want to find a job to fund it. I mean, dropping $3,000 a month while skipping classes and booking flights sounds less like adulting and more like living in a reality show where the plot twist is always, who's paying for this again? You're not punishing her, you're simply removing the platinum parachute from her midlife crisis, which, at 19, feels a bit premature. If she wants to live her best, eat, pray, love life, she can eat ramen, pray she finds Wi-Fi at hostels, and love the sweet, sweet reality of budgeting. Not the idiot, just a dad suggesting that being an adult sometimes involves footing your own bill. Heck, $3,000 allowance? You didn't set her up for success, you set her up for failure. $3,000 a month is a lot. For context, after taxes and benefits, I bring home a bit over $3,000 a month, and I support a family of 4 with that. Mortgage, car, utilities. You are the idiot for creating a spoiled brat and being so out of touch. My father paid for my degree too. No allowance. I gave birth to 2 children while getting the degree, had grants that paid for childcare and the occasional school expense. People confused helping with enabling. I remember when my allowance was $50 every 3 months. Good times. OP, if you didn't give her so much money, she wouldn't be able to party so much. What did you think she was going to do with it? You are an idiot for allowing such behavior. I'm pretty sure she showed signs of entitlement when she was younger and it was easier to correct, but you probably let it slide or brushed it off. She needs to understand that actions have consequences. Cutting off her allowance is a great start, and $3,000 a month is wild. My mom, her husband and I, a female teen, are in group therapy with each other. We started therapy a few weeks after Father's Day because that was the final straw for them to insist we all needed therapy to work on why I won't let us be the family they want. We started at the end of July, and by the end of August, my mom accused me of lying, called me a liar, and laid out this really big sob story about how much it hurt to have me lie to her and do everything in my power to destroy her marriage. It made me so angry. I didn't lie at any point. I said as much in the follow-up session, and the therapist asked me to outline my side and how I felt having Mom call me a liar. Mom kept trying to interrupt me, she told the therapist to shut up, and she accused me of being a vicious liar then. To explain the situation, my mom and her husband married 3 years ago. They moved in together 2 months before. Before moving in, they sat me down and asked me if I was okay with us moving in together and making a family of 3 again. Mom brought up how we'd have a man around the house again, my dad died, and how good it would be for her to have a husband and for me to have a dad. He said he couldn't wait to be my dad, and he always wanted to be a dad. He said he already had plans for us for Father's Day. This was February 3 years ago. I told them I wasn't okay with that stuff. I didn't want another dad, wouldn't let him be my dad, and wasn't about to spend Father's Day celebrating someone who isn't dad. They started laughing and proceeded as normal, but Father's Day became a struggle because I hadn't spent the day with him in the last 3 years, and he had tried, and so had my mom. I meant what I said. I never called him dad or let him fill the role in my life. This year he snapped and he had a temper tantrum. He said I was supposed to be with him on Father's Day and not spend the day alone, and he didn't sign up to be nothing to me. My mom called me a liar because she said I promised to develop a close relationship with her husband and that I said yes to wanting what they asked. She said I had said I would give him Father's Day, and I lied, and I haven't followed through on any of it. She said I made them think I would be a willing participant and that I wanted us to be a family. It makes me angry because I never said what she claimed, and I even repeated what I'd said back then. The therapist couldn't get Mom to apologize, and she has no control over the sessions where my mom and her husband dominate. So I'm totally silent and I zone out. They only realized this 2 weeks ago. They called me on it, and I spoke up again after more than a month of no talking in therapy to confirm I wasn't listening. It came up last week, and I said I was done engaging because I was owed an apology for being called a liar. My mom and her husband are angry that I'm wasting everyone's time letting therapy happen. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'm surprised the therapist is still taking the sessions. They must need the money pretty badly. Your parents, like so many before them, aren't after therapy, where you have to work on your own crap. They want a wizard who can change reality for them and maybe change them for someone who wants to call their mom's husband dad. I'm not surprised. My youngest therapist wasn't even going to call CPS after my ex said in therapy that he wanted to blow his head off and that it was her fault. She was a tween. If my dad hadn't been there as an ex-family advocacy therapist and held her accountable, the ex would only have one verified case against him. Some therapists favour keeping the people footing the bill happy no matter the cost to the child. Honey, your parents are abusive narcissists, and it seems like they only want to control you. Focus on your schoolwork and your escape. Work as hard as possible, and maybe you can get a scholarship to a college in another state. This is the advice I wish I had gotten when I was young and struggling with my home situation.